Hello, everyone. I am still Nora Armani after so many broadcasts we've had until now. And we are today speaking to a new group of filmmakers. Unfortunately, we have some people missing, or Robin has just joined us. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello, but we need to put the title of your film in there. So I will do that later. But in the meantime, let me just continue my introduction. We have filmmakers with us who are screening their films at Cinema Village on the 15th, on the 16th, and on the 17th. Sorry, on the 17th and on the 18th. The 16th is our grand opening at the Lincoln Center with red carpet, um, opening ceremony, honor awards, and we are honoring three individuals whose names will be broadcast very soon. It's a secret for now. And also, we will be acknowledging all the filmmakers present and the jury and everybody who has been supporting us all this time and also encouraging us to keep going because this is not a one person show, as you can imagine. After 10 years and 600 films screened from 40 countries, no human being can do that on their own. So I'm ever so grateful to my team. I'm ever so grateful to the filmmakers who have put their trust in us, who have brought us their babies, because a film is like your own baby. And we have hopefully been good caretakers for the duration of the time that the film has been with us. I will ask whoever is not speaking to mute their microphones. I will mute that for you for now. But when you come to speak, I will put it on back on because there is a lot of background noise. So this is our 10th anniversary edition. March 16 is our opening night, as I mentioned. And then from the 17th to the 19th, we are downtown at Cinema Village. And we have special things that I will tell you about before I introduce the filmmakers. We have $7 early bird tickets, which technically are supposed to expire tomorrow. However, we want to be generous and we are going to extend that period for another 5 days. So it will be until March 5th. So hurry and purchase your $7 tickets and the $100 all access pass, which will allow you access to the VIP events on opening night, as well as everything else that is on offer in terms of films and screenings and events and everything else that the festival has. And to do that, you can visit our website, which is here, Rated as Our Films, and I will scroll it throughout the talk as well. So please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'm going to do like all the YouTubers, they do subscribe. And please, so that you hear about the events, because we are intending to make this a year-round thing, not necessarily the festival itself, but these chats, because it's very important for us to give a platform to the filmmakers and hear them out. Okay, so there we go, and here are our wonderful filmmakers on today's session. We're going to take a quick round, and everyone will talk about themselves for a second and introduce the film they are presenting in the festival, and then we're going to come back and go more in depth into that film. So maybe we'll start with Libro. Oh, you're muted. Sorry, I muted you or no?
Right.
I did.
Yeah, you can hear me now, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening. I'm based in London, so I'm speaking to you from London, and I'm coming with a short film in the LGBTI category called Private View. So we're playing on Sunday the 19th at 2 p.m. I'm not the director. The director of the film is Sarah Myland. I'm one of the people inside the film, and the film is about myself. I'm a non-binary writer, queer writer, and I share the same birthday as a portrait artist who's also based in the UK, Sadie Lee. We made a short film together about a portrait that Sadie painted of me. And I think we're going around again and doing a bit more detail. So I'll tell you a bit more detail when we do round robin again. And the film is produced by Violet Pictures, and I'm going to come to New York with it as the member of the company to come to New York.
Great. Thank you so much. So we go to the next person. Johnny.
Hi, I'm Johnny Stallings. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm coming to New York to represent the film A Midsummer Night's Dream in Prison, which was directed by my friend Bushra Azuz, who sadly died 4 years ago. And I'm representing the film because I directed the play in the prison in 2010. And coming with me to New York will be Aaron Gilbert, who was an actor in the play. He played the part of Helena. So that's my story.
Cool. All right. We go to Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Russin, and my film is The Anxiety of Laughing. And this came about because I'm a professor at the University of California, Riverside, and I had a student with cerebral palsy in my MFA who wrote a play that turned out to be very good and won a number of awards. And he came to the attention of some disability people who wanted a video of the play. And I went to my DP and he said, well, let's just make a movie. Why are we going to shoot a play? So we ended up shooting the movie with this young man starring in the role that he created. And I'm very proud of it. It was done on a very low budget, but it has a lot of heart. And I'm delighted that it's in this festival.
That's so nice. Yeah, we got really struck with that theme. Okay, we have Kata and Pedro.
Okay, hello, I'm Kata Beilin, and I am coming to New York. Actually, I'm not coming in person to New York. I'm a member of our team, Reynaldo Morales, will be representing the film. Maya Land, Listening to the Bees, will be playing on March 17th at 9 p.m. And this is a story of the struggle of Mayan beekeepers against genetically engineered soy. At least that's what it seemed to be in the very beginning, but it's much more than that. As I was making the film, I was learning that I am actually digging into much deeper story. And Pedro Pablo, who is here with me, an awarded Mayan poet, was one of the inspirations for the film. We'll go deeper when it's our turn. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting. I love these films because one thing is the fringe benefit of running this festival, founding it and running it all these years, is that I have learned so much just watching these films. Yesterday, we had the first of our events, which is not really in the festival, but it is part of the festival because the festival officially opens March 16. But yesterday, we had an event for Black History Month at MRHS, and we screened 4 films, each of which dealt with a different aspect of Black culture. And it was really a fantastic experience. And I'm like, the audience loved the films. And I'm looking at each of the films and I'm going, yes, I learned so much from this one. I learned so much from this one. It's like every film that comes our way and we end up selecting is a huge learning experience. And I am so happy to be doing this. And I thank you all for bringing us these films because each one of these talented filmmakers can go and make commercial movies with explosions and gunshots and, killing and what have you. And that that those films have their place too, maybe in the big spectrum, but they don't necessarily delve as deep into the lives of the human beings that your films portray. So maybe we should just, next question would be about how did the idea of this film come to you? And if you're not the filmmaker, you can say how you got involved and what happened that you ended up in here. And yeah, so I'm not going to go again like with turns like in a school. So whoever wants to jump in, please feel free.
Okay, I can start. This film, as I say, came about because this student of mine had written a lovely play about his experience with disability and wooing a young woman who was not disabled, and the conflicts with her parents, the potential in-laws. And it was a very lovely, light play. And then I challenged him to write something that had a little more depth and recognition of the challenges of disability, since he is an expert in that. And by the way, his name is Andrew Justvig. I should have mentioned that before. He's a very, very talented young writer and actor. And so he'd made this play that had a much darker and richer subject matter. And then he came to me when he was offered the opportunity to have it filmed and asked me to direct it again. I directed it as a play on Zoom, and so I decided to direct it as a film. And it's been a great experience because he's now got people getting him an agent. He has other people interested in his work. So I'm very pleased that this little film has also helped advance his career as he goes out into the industry.
Yeah, and let's put the name of the film, the title. I just added
There it
it.
is.
So yeah, it's The Anxiety of Laughing. And the story is very fascinating because it's a couple, a young man with cerebral palsy, and then he is in love with this girl. And of course, the girl is in love with him, and she's not at all chair-bound or anything. And she's happy to care for him because she really loves him. And of course, her parents are totally against it. And then some unexpected turn happens and she ends up becoming a person in need of care. And of course the film deals with this in a humorous way. And we have found out that you can be funny and you can um, include comedy when dealing with social issues as well. Because if we talk about all these social issues that we deal with from the serious and heavy standpoint, are we going to go all out and want to kill ourselves or something? Because it will show such a dark side of the world we live in, which might be true to some extent, but we always like to focus on the uplifting elements. So who would like to go next and tell us a little bit about how the idea of the film and how did they get involved and all that? Libro.
I'll go next. Yeah. So the portrait artist Sadie Lee and myself, we have the same birthday, so we've been discussing over a number of years. We wanted to do a collaboration just out of this space, really, as me as a writer and Sadie as a portrait artist. And we were trying to find the right fit, really, for us to collaborate on something. And then there was an exhibition in London called 50 Years of Queer British Art. And that came out in 2017, so it's pre-pandemic. And I went to that exhibition. I couldn't see any non-binary bodies on display. There were several nude portraits, and they were kind of white cis men, predominantly of white cis men. So I went to Sadie and I asked Sadie if she'd be interested in collaborating on a portrait of me with the potential to do a naked portrait of me as well, because people have painted me before, but in clothes. So Sadie and I started this conversation. She came and she took photographs of me in the house. And then the pandemic hit and she was working on the portrait for 3 years. And I'd not seen any cutaways or anything. So I had no idea of what the portrait looked like. She told me she wanted to do a diptych. And quite often what she does is she reveals her work very late on to the people who sit for her. And she's a very radical portrait painter, and she sort of paints people in the way that she views them, and sometimes your features can be quite exaggerated, or her work is quite political. But she said to me she wanted to record my reaction to her work. So the idea of the documentary came out of that. And we got some money from somebody called Julie Dixon, and without her aid, we wouldn't have been able to make the piece at all. And then we got the crew together, and Violet Productions came on board, and Sarah Myland, who's worked for TV exclusively, really, as the director, came on board, and that's how the project came about.
Wow, that's amazing, because a lot of times when we are talking about the film, these films that are in the selection and with the filmmakers, some of them have accidentally happened, and films have knocked on your door asking to be made, you know, whereas in other situations, the filmmaker have struggled for a decade up to 8 to 10 years. I've known some of them do that, and it's a resilience for which I hats off, really. I mean, I would have given up much sooner than that, but they have kept at it, and then in the end have come up with their dream realized on screen. So it's amazing to hear the stories of how each and every one of these projects has come about. Who wants to talk next?
So I can go next.
Okay.
So I'm not a filmmaker. I always wanted to make a film. All my life, that was an illusion that I had. But I'm an academic, researcher, writer, and I was working on alliances between people and plants. I was researching relationships between people and soy, people and amaranth, and then in precisely working on amaranth in Tehuacan, Mexico, I heard that there was a conflict, something that was called environmental conflict between beekeepers, because again, the same plant that I was working on came up. Soy was destroying their honey economy. So then I flew to Mérida to learn more about it, and it was, I remember, a very rainy afternoon. Everything was wet, it was raining, my sandals were soaked, and I wanted to heat up after a conversation that I had, and I was waiting for some people, some friends of mine coming to Mérida by plane. I entered a restaurant. It happened to be Pedro Pablo's restaurant. And I asked for sopa de lima, a chicken soup that is amazing in Mérida. And Pedro Pablo happened to be there. He was the owner of the restaurant, and we started to talk around that soup. And he told me about his ideas about the way that American and European academics work on Mayan culture. And one of the things he said was that he disliked that we used our own voice to represent their ideas. So that moment, and there was much more, and I hope that Pedro Pablo will add something here, but at that moment I went like, how to do that? I cannot do that in an article. How to mediate without mediating, how to allow the voices of the people I'm talking to be presented directly to the public. And that was the first moment when the idea of the film came to my mind. Pedro, do you want to add something about that moment?
Yep, of course. The idea was to express how, in general, a lot of Mayan people and First Nations in general feels about the way how, in general, many academics choose or not to interact with Mayan people, but based by a kind of monologue, because they ask questions about Mayan people, for example, but they answer their own questions because they keep talking about Mayan without the Mayan people. of course, this is a systemic problem based by what people call racism. And in this context, it's about epistemic racism. That's the idea that Mayan people, we are not like, it's implicated the idea that Mayan people, we are not like competitive. We don't have like an epistemology. We're not allowed to talk with authority or to represent with authority our own history, memory, culture, history. So then, people who are white, big white people, especially academics, anthropologists, archaeologists, are the people who are supposed to be legitimate to come and to talk with this authority about Mayan people. So this is the monologue, and we know this is something what started long time ago. As a Mayan writer and a Mayan poetry, I have the moral obligation to take the position and to create a kind of answer or discourse, what we call anti-colonial and anti-racist. And maybe that's why probably
that moment inspired. That moment inspired in great measure the birth of that film.
And I think that was amazing because that means there is people who want to make the difference, looking or trying to broke with this monologue for a new dialogue with the First Nations. In this case, Mayan people. And I think that's why seems to me really great idea when once after a while she comes again, she say, okay, I'm going to work about this documentary. I was wondering if you would like to participate. Say yes, of course. Why not?
That is such a lovely story, and an idea comes to mind because I have studied sociology at a master's degree in sociology. That's why I'm always interested, besides being an actress and a theater person and filmmaker myself. I'm always interested in the sociological and anthropological, of course, perspective. But you are so right, and you pointed out to something very, very important. And there is a clear colonialist attitude in academia. It's very unfortunate. And it's not only the approach, the fact that you come into a culture and you want to comment about that culture without necessarily allowing the people of that culture to voice their opinions. Or if you ask questions and you take the opinions of these people, you formulate it in such a way to suit your theories or whatever it is that you had set forth to prove or disprove in the first place. So absolutely agree with what you are saying. And that's why film is different, because in film, you don't have to abide by the regulations of academia and the style in which a paper has to be presented. And if it's not like that, then it's not valid, and all those things, which are very colonialist, if you ask me. But you have the honesty of the camera. The camera never lies. It's there, and it shows things as they are. So for that reason, it's very, very important what you all do, especially the documentary filmmakers and also the narrative films, to show things the way they are. It's really very, very important. I think we have Johnny that is
Hi.
has
Yeah,
have his turn. Okay.
I sort of wandered into a prison accidentally. I just went on a tour of a prison, and it didn't match my expectations of what I would find. And as a performer, I offered to do some performing at this prison in Eastern Oregon, and they didn't have anything going on there, so they said, sure. And I performed a few times there and had conversations with the prison residents after the performances, and they basically kept inviting me back, and the conversations were so interesting that I started a meaning of life dialogue group at Two Rivers Prison, and every week 12 or 16 guys sitting in a circle talking about all the deepest things: happiness, love, everything. And after 2 years, a guy who was serving a life sentence asked me if I'd be interested in doing a play with them. And I said, I don't know, would you like to do a play? Because we were never talking about theater in these conversations. And basically they did want to do it. And so 2008, I directed Hamlet, which was the first time that men in an Oregon prison had performed a play by Shakespeare. And 2 years later, I directed A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was a little bit scarier in a way because of the themes in the play. And my friend Bushra Azuz, Iraqi-born filmmaker, asked me if she was interested in doing a documentary of the project, the rehearsals, the performances, and also she interviewed each of the actors and also recorded the group conversations that we would have. So, and from that's the raw material for the documentary film. I'll just say one more thing, which is that when I started, the idea of doing a play in the prison sounded interesting to me, and I thought it would be valuable, a good experience for all the men and for me. And the thing that I didn't expect or I didn't see coming was that when audiences came to see the plays in prison, we performed both for the other prison residents, but also for outside audiences. And for the public performances, families and friends of the actors came to the play, along with other people from outside. And when the performance was over, something very magical happened. We called it the love-in. There was a lot of hugging and tears and laughter. And the two public performances every year, we went on to do a number of other plays, were essentially the happiest nights of the year, those 2 nights for the men who lived in prison. And so anyway, the love dimension was the thing. I didn't know you could do that in prison. It's probably against the rules, but that was the part that was the most enriching dimension of the whole thing.
That is a very nice story, and thank you for sharing that, because it's also brings the prisoners together, because usually you watch movies on prisons and all you see is prisoners fighting with each other and wanting to kill each other, and then you go, wow, they are focusing on the sensationalist aspect of it and all the knives and killings and conflicts that go on and the drug use and this and that. And then a film like this comes up and you see, wow, wait a minute, these are human beings. And if you give them art and opportunity to express themselves in a positive way, why focus on all the negativity and all the aggression and violence? And I can understand how it can generate those feelings of love and warmth and sharing and all that. So thank you very much. And as I said, these are amazing films. So this is a moment when I'm going to take my 2 seconds and do my pitch and tell everyone that they have to come and see these amazing films, because these filmmakers did not spend years and years of their time and and their money, their energy, their life, and so on, to make these movies so that they stay in a drawer or in a dark place. But yes, in a dark room, but to be projected on a screen where people can see it. So the way to see it is when you purchase your ticket and come to the cinema. And the information on that would be found on the Socially Relevant Film Festival website for both information and ticket. We also have all the trailers of these films that will give you an idea. Now we are talking to the filmmakers. We decided not to screen the trailers here because they are all on the YouTube channel and playlists, and also on our website under the different categories of films. So there's no point. The purpose of this get together is so you get to know the filmmakers or the people who are involved with the film. So thank you so much. This is really so enlightening. And maybe now we can go and somebody, whoever wants to jump in, tell us how you found your way to Socially Relevant Film Festival and what are your expectations from this screening. I must add that often, not often, regularly, we have the films that come to us end up with having distribution with one or the other of our industry partners, or go further to have a life after the festival. I'm not going to take the entire credit, obviously, because that's not only our doing, but it's another stepping stone. And New York is, important stepping stone in that journey. So we are very happy to be able to create that platform and shine the spotlight on these amazing filmmakers. So who wants to tell us how they found their way to Socially Relevant? Nobody?
Well, I can start. I have to be honest. I just found that festival online, and I immediately thought that that was a very good venue for my film. When I was presenting my film briefly, first of all, it's not only my film; it's co-directed with Avi Weinstein, and there has been a team involved in the film that I wanted to say thank you to. And also, Nora, thanks to you for doing this amazing work and making all this possible. And what is all this? It's telling the world about struggles, which are very important. And when I was talking about the film briefly, I said that when I was filming the story of the struggle of Mayan people against transgenic soy, I realized that I'm digging into something much more important. And that something more important is the struggle for revitalization and resistance of Mayan culture, which I am finding one of the most important things, probably because I'm very deeply into it right now, that is happening in the planet right now. And obviously in a few seconds that I have here, I cannot explain why. I think Pedro Pablo would be much more able to do that. But socially relevant film festival, that's the platform that allows to talk about this struggle and present it to the people who have no idea that something like that is happening and of its significance.
Yeah, and what I like about your film is that you tied it. It's not only a study of Mayan culture, but also about the environment and climate and how it's all affecting and the livelihood of the people. And of course, when people don't find the livelihood and the economic ways in which they were accustomed to sustaining themselves, and suddenly the entire structure is shaken, and they're uh, some of them might even have to leave their lands. And also the indigenous populations is very, very important. This is the whole world today has absolutely no respect for indigenous populations. It happens everywhere. It's going on in South America. It's going on in Russia right now, in Ukraine, in Armenia, in Artsakh, in everywhere, everywhere. No respect for indigenous populations who are the people of that land. And for whatever reason, for very obvious reasons. It's not for whatever reason, for greed and economy and all that. Forces, colonial, I'm going to call them, they come and want to take away the livelihood of these people with complete disregard for the people themselves, whether it's academia doing research or wars actually driving these people out of their lands. It comes to the same thing, because when you don't give the people their own voice and their own respect as a people, as a culture that is different and that has the right to exist on their indigenous lands, then something is wrong. So it is very, very.
Alma can say a word here.
I
I'll
think
just
you're right.
say that- Oh,
Yep.
go ahead.
Because, like you said, colonialism turned invisible indigenous people. So what do I like about this documentary? It's because it's making visible the indigenous people who are usually invisible. So we can listen from their own voice, from their own context. How do they live? Know how people interpret them, like, or from this kind of white perception. Because basically the problem by colonialism is, in general, especially many academics, and not only, they don't seem to really want to understand indigenous people, because they are not watching, perceiving indigenous people like how indigenous people are. They are perceiving indigenous people in their own Eurocentric perception. And that's the expression of colonialism. It's a problem, like you said, everywhere. It's a systemic problem. But of course, even when we know it's systemic, we should not ever shut up, and we have to do something about.
Yeah, totally agree.
Pedro's point about the invisibility applies also to people in prison. Of course, most people have never been inside a prison, and so their perceptions of the people who are in prison are based on the kind of movies that you referred to, Nora, violent movies where everybody's stabbing each other all the time. We were excited to apply to the socially relevant film festival because we made our film as hopefully something more than an hour, like an hour's entertainment, distraction to pass the time. It is an entertaining film, but it's also deep, and we knew just the title of your festival showed that obviously this is about ideas and our world and change, and so we're thrilled that we get to participate in this festival.
Thank you so much. Since we're talking about the festival, I will remind you after the festival not to forget to put your reviews in Film Freeway. For months and months, a couple of years now, we have been one of the best 100 best reviewed film festivals, and we would like to stay like that. And that only can happen when filmmakers go and express their positive views. So, and if it's negative, let us know separately, privately, so we can fix the problem. Yeah, more? Robin? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we came. I found the Socially Relevant Film Festival searching online for festivals that seem to be, that had missions like yours, to have films that had content that wasn't just entertainment, that was also entertaining, but was about other things. So we were very pleased to find this festival and to be accepted into it, because this idea of invisibility extends to disability as well. There is a habit people have to sort of avoid the issue or discount people who have disability, and the film deals with that through humor, because this young man, of course, has experienced it all his life, and the whole point of the film really is that the only way he's been able to deal with the challenges of life is through having a sense of humor about it, even in the darkest moments. And that sense of making those stories visible, of how hard it is for some people to just do the simplest things that we take for granted, and do so privately, away from our knowledge. It was something that I wanted to do with this movie, and I'm very glad that it's in a festival that recognizes this kind of mission.
Thank you. That's a line we might steal from you. Making the invisible visible. That's a nice log line for us. Because look, we're all talking about indigenous, LGBTQ, we're talking about prisoners, we're talking about people with disabilities. These are all groups that are made invisible very easily in society and ignored and put aside and marginalized and so on. And hopefully, through the films that we screen and what we do by shining the spotlight on these issues, we bring forward this, and do away with this invisibility. So
Libro, your film is actually about seeing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I jump in. Yeah, I like this idea as well, the making the invisible, or what seems to be for mainstream culture, the invisible visible. I've worked in areas of verbatim theatre, so I've taken testimonies from people, lived experiences, and I think that's what we were trying to capture with Sadie painting my body, a body that's rarely seen in mainstream culture. And sort of owning it, so the personal also being political, and it seems to be what we're discussing here tonight is all these different aspects coming from different areas, as Nora, as you've just kind of touched on, whether it's disabled bodies or Mayan indigenous bodies or prisoners who are kind of removed from society, or LGBTQIA bodies. It feels like, yeah, just to step up to the plate and actually claim the spaces for ourselves and tell our own stories on our own terms. And that feels to me, obviously, that's a politicized statement and a politicized space. And certainly for us as a company, James Colley and Jan Dunn, who are the producers, wanted us to be part of this festival for those reasons and thought it was a really good match for us.
Yeah, thank you. That's really cool, because the same theme came up yesterday when we were talking about the films that were in Black History Month. And we were talking about a place at the table. It was a little different. It was not so much about the invisibility, but more of having a seat at the table. And one of the filmmakers had said in one of the films that if you're not given a seat at the table, bring your own folding chair. So this is really quite interesting. So we're all bringing our own folding chairs, we're bringing our own voices, we're bringing our own microphones and screaming from the screen so that people take note. All right, so the next
I want to
question.
just say a quick thing about a seat at the table, which is I felt when I was doing Shakespeare with guys in prison who hadn't acted before, weren't that familiar with Shakespeare, that I was inviting them to a banquet to which they had not been invited. And there's a really brief scene in our film. Wasn't much room for this particular scene, but it's a scene of everybody sitting around a table. And this is something that we did at the end of the production. And in the prison context, in that particular prison, they only are able to sit at tables of 6. And so this experience of getting to sit together and have a meal was something that was completely impossible in that prison. But there's a little moment in the film where you see this.
That's beautiful. Yes, the inclusion. And we also have a program on March the 20th. As part of this festival this year, we have the section that goes on at Cinema Village. And then from the 20th to the 23rd, we have the Rejoice, Resist, BIPOC Films and Filmmakers section, which is all about the different aspects of everything we are talking about, this time about Black, Indigenous, and people of color, mostly short films in that section, which we have put into different groupings. And the ones that are happening on the 20th, one of the sessions is happening at Dear Mama coffee shop, which is much bigger than a coffee shop. It's like more of a performance venue. And after the screening, we have a panel discussion on diversity and representation on screen. So this is going to be quite an interesting topic. So whoever is attending the festival, please make sure to come to the screenings on the 20th at Dear Mama on 129th Street and Broadway, to participate, to view the films, first of all, and also participate in the Q&A, in the panel, which will be followed by Division X, a hip hop band who's made their own mission to talk about these issues through songs and music. So it all kind of ties in together into a big celebration of invisibility, diversity, and putting the accent on the I's and crossing the T's so that we are all heard and make a difference. So in the remaining time, maybe we'll jump quickly and talk about what are your next projects? Who wants to talk about what they are in preparation with and what are they trying to, what films they are trying to make?
I'll jump in there. I did, as I just said, I've been engaged in verbatim theatre for several years, and I did a project called the Butch Monologues, which we toured with for about 8 years. We went to Australia with it. We came to New York with it in 2015, and we're just in discussions. Basically, I took interviews from the female masculine community and the trans masculine community and gender rebels. And then we did a show with readers from the community who weren't trained performers. And we had 5 readers on stage doing the script in hand presentation. And so we're in conversation at the minute with a couple of documentary filmmakers to see whether we could capture the notion of that project and capture it in the documentary format. So we're just in discussions about that. I won't say any more because it's very, very early days. And as we all know tonight, the length of time it takes to realize a project to the screen. But yeah, that's what we're working on at the minute. Thank you.
Yeah, fascinating. So you mixed all the different performance formats and media.
Yeah, I took interviews I collated over 100 interviews from those communities, the butch lesbian community and the trans masculine community, and took their stories, and then I edited their stories down, and we presented them in a kind of an hour-length format, a live performance format, and we worked with a body of readers in the different places that we worked in, but we had 5 readers on stage, and as I say, many of them had never been on stage before, so it's quite terrifying for them, but at the same time quite exhilarating. And the project had a big groundswell support, so we sold out, and the Arts Council funded it in the UK and stuff like that. So hopefully we can capture the notion of that and the life of that through a documentary, so that we're in preparation with that and trying to hustle money as
yeah, that's the part that drains you.
Yes.
But I shouldn't give up, because at the end of the tunnel, there is the Socially Relevant Film Festival that is happy to screen your works.
Yes.
So
I want to put in a quick plug for my young friend Prabhu Muruganantham, who's grew up in Tamil Nadu, India, lives in Portland now, and he's just made his first film, 20-minute fictional film called In the Beginning, which is about a young man who is just gotten out of prison, and it's a beautiful film, and it's the first of Prabhu's many films that he's going to make. It's going to premiere at the Hollywood Theater in Portland on March 26th.
That's nice. And who else? We have some questions or comments from our audience, and I want to interfere here and tell you about them because we love the audience interaction. We have Ching Jewel, who is one of our team members, and she is offering the smartphone filmmaking workshop. If any of you are coming and are interested, please let us know. We are going to be sending out an email with a form so you can register. And she has made a feature documentary all on her iPhone. Actually, more than one iPhone, one in the hand and one in the on the car, and she's like driving and talking to people. Anyway, so she's with us and she says, "Hi, Nora, filmmakers. Nice meeting all of you. Great conversations." So thank you, Ching. Thank you for joining us. Yes, who wants to tell us about their next project?
Sure, I guess I can go. I'm working on a couple of things. I have a short play that's about an experience my wife and I had in Italy, where we were having a lovely vacation and then realized that next to our hotel was the ruins of what had been a concentration camp in the Second World War, and how that kind of affected our stay. I'm also working on a novel, and mostly right now, it's interesting that you say that I'm teaching a class on directing, and it's directing with the smartphone, and then for students to get used to the idea that they have in their pocket every tool they need to make a movie. So I'm working on that, and I'm developing an idea with a friend about a group of kind of riot girl band members from back in the day who decide they're going to put the band back together and take feminism to the next level in their music. So those are the projects that I'm thinking about, in addition to the courses I'm teaching at UC Riverside.
Cool. All right. And yes, Kata.
So yes, I want to go back to that motto that we were all together thinking about, making invisible visible. And I want to add something to it, namely that making the invisible visible and showing that sometimes it's precisely what's the most worthy of seeing. The most important things remain invisible. So I am right now a Fulbright scholar in Yucatan, working on a book that deepens all the understandings that I managed to achieve while working on the film. And discovering that amazing capacities that Mayan culture has had for thousands of years of establishing relationship with nature, which is regulating in a different way identity, spirituality, community life, language, art, and digging into different visions of revitalization among Mayan activists, intellectuals, and regular fellows. But I also have an idea of a next film, and that idea is connected with that biocultural capacity of Mayan people, the relationship with nature, with forests. That's something very, very important in thousands of years of Mayan history. So I would like to make a film about a mahogany tree, 700 in Novak, in Yucatan, and connect the tree, the history of the tree, to the history of a woman whose father called her mahogany just to celebrate that tree. I'm looking for funding, so if there is anyone watching me that would like to help me out, I'll be very happy to dive into it.
That's so cool. Wow, a tree as the subject. That's something we'd like to see. Did everybody talk about their next projects? Yes. Well, this has been really amazing. We were supposed to have two more filmmakers with us today, but one had a last minute unfortunate engagement that they couldn't join, and the other one got unfortunately unwell, so we couldn't have them. But hopefully, I will try to see if we can fit them somewhere else. But if not, we had a nice chat with the people who were with us. And I wish you all wonderful, wonderful continuation in whatever it is that you're doing. And please do come and bring us your next babies, because we are now addicted to your work. We want to see more of the stuff. And if the people who are watching, we have $7 early bird tickets that we are extending until March 5th. And the early bird $100 tickets, which will allow you to come to the VIP screenings on opening night, red carpet, and everything. It's only that ticket alone is $50. So already half of your all access pass is used up, and the rest you can use to see everything else that is on offer, including closing night. And I would love to thank also our sponsors, our partners, our without whom and without whose support all this would not be possible. Of course, the team is very important. The jury is very important. Everybody, it's like a big puzzle. And if one piece is missing, the festival is not the same. So thank you so much. Yes, you want to add
I
something?
would like to say something. Um, I am just finishing about a book about the racialization, cosification of Mayan people in the context of tourist business. So it's basically to saying a problem what we have been talking about before, but I just want to say that before I say goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very important. We'd love to see a work like that. I have another comment from Katie who says, can we see the films at home if we cannot come to New York? Thank you very much for bringing that up. It's a very, very good question. And I would like to take this opportunity to add that when you go to the website, you're going to see that most of the films are also going to be online. Our online section starts after the in-person section ends. When the in-person section ends on the 23rd, on March 8th, we have a big webinar with all the women filmmakers of the film festival. And then after that, the 16th is the opening, and all the in-person events go on until the 23rd. On the 24th, almost all the films, with the exception of two or three, go online, and you'll be able to view them online if you are not in New York. Then we have another comment. Congratulations to all the wonderful filmmakers, their crucial stories. Some questions, as Katie. Anyway, we can attend the screenings remotely. Yes, I think I already answered that question. We stream on SparkFest Live. It's not our platform, but we subscribe to that platform. And the films that are going online are already on our website. When you scroll down, you will see at the bottom of the page, you will see all the films that are available. They are still not made available for viewing because That will kick in on the 24th of March, but you will be able to see what is available for viewing remotely. Thank you all very much. We're right on time, and I'm going to go to end the broadcast now so we can chat a bit. Bye.
All right. Nice meeting you all.